Broadcasting from the Any Hour Services Podcast Studios, I'm your host, Mike Wilson, and you're tuned in for another episode of Who's in the House. You're going to want to see and hear who we got. Stick around. Who's in the House is a series where we meet the men and women who help keep the systems in our home running, the tradespeople that keep our home safe and comfortable. Today, I'm joined by John Lawrence. Thanks for coming in the studio, man.
Pleasure being here.
How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Good. Take a second, introduce yourself to those that are listening. When you introduce yourself, include like what you do and stuff like that.
Well, like you said, my name is John. I do HVAC tune-ups for Any Hour Services. That's pretty much it for that part.
Okay, well, that was good. You nailed that. So, tell me, are you from Utah?
No, originally I'm not.
Originally not. Yeah. So tell me where you're from.
I'm actually another one of our Missouri boys that are in our department.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you guys come over together?
No. So, so your last guy, Mike, he's been here longer than I have. Mm-hmm. I've only been in Utah since 2019. But we're from around the same area,
really?
The Kansas City area, just different like actual cities. I can't remember where he's from exactly, but my hometown's Lee Summit, Missouri.
Gotcha. But never knew each other before coming here.
Nope.
Is Any Hour where you guys like made that connection, or did moving to Utah, did you guys meet up anywhere else, or not meet up? It's like, I used to get this question when I was, I lived in Arizona for a couple of years, mm-hmm. and I was, they would say, where are you from? And I'd say, well, I grew up in Louisiana, Georgia. And that gave everyone the, permission to think of anyone that they knew that was from the South and ask if like, oh, did you know so-and-so? And so I was like, where are they from? They're Arkansas. I'm like, nope. Different place. Anyway, but I feel like I was doing that to you just then. But now I know why they did that, because you should know him.
You would think so.
Yeah, it's just one state. There's two of you. You should know each other. All right, so tell me, when did you move to Utah?
So my wife and I, we got here in October 2019. So like I said, I'm originally from Missouri, but I was in the military, and so I was stationed in Texas, and then to cut the story short, we moved to California for a little bit, and after living there for a little while, we moved to Utah for a better living, basically, for the two of us.
Gotcha. What branch of the military?
Army.
Yep. Nice. Thank you for your service.
I appreciate that.
You actually have a I could beat you up vibe. Like,
no,
definitely. It's all those eggs you're eating in the morning.
Eggs, yeah.
So, okay, well, let's go back. Growing up in Missouri, let's go through the process, because ultimately, what I want to learn about you and share for the show is I want to figure out your journey from a kid to being in the trades, okay, and how you got there. So, growing up, did you see yourself, young John? Little John, can I call you Little John?
Sure.
Okay. John L. Wait, L's for Lawrence, but like Robin Hood, John Little. Probably never heard that before.
No, I used to do. Have you ever seen Cobra Kai?
Yes.
So that's where I get some nicknames from.
Got it.
Because of John Lawrence in the show.
Got it. Okay, so when you were young, did you ever see yourself as be a technician in the trades, like plumber, HVAC, electrician?
No, not even close. Actually, close. when I grew up, it wasn't even in my mind at all. So I actually originally wanted to be a police officer, and I was a police officer actually for a short time.
Really?
So when I grew up, I had basically how that got started in my life is I was in junior high or high school. I can't remember which one. And I actually witnessed a car accident in front of me, and I helped out, and I called the police, and I was probably half a mile down the road from the actual police station, and I actually saw the cop car coming, screaming with its lights and sirens coming, and then the fire truck came from the opposite direction. They, did the scene and everything, gave my statement to the officer later than that day. Nothing happened. It was just a regular accident, but that's kind of was what sealed the deal of what I wanted to do and what I kind of strived to do. So I did several different jobs. I've done several different things, but I went to college for law enforcement. I got my criminal justice degree. And then without having really any experience, I decided to join the military to get experience, to kind of grow up a little bit, get experience. So I became a military police officer. And in the military, not only was I an MP, but I was actually a dog handler in the MP. So I was a canine handler in the military.
That's cool.
So that kind of enhanced my degree or my, how I look on paper.
Made you more desirable.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
And so I left active duty in 2017, and then I actually went into policing for about a year. So I went to the academy, got hired on, worked as an actual police officer for about a year. Ended up not being the job that I thought it was going to be. I didn't really think I was that good at it either. After I left, I was trying to kind of find myself again. So I did some odd different jobs. I actually worked for Comcast for a little bit. After that, that's when we decided to move to Utah, because I was in California when I was a police officer and worked for Comcast. Mm-hmm. We moved to Utah to, have a better living, like I said, and I got a job working for a garage door company here locally in Utah, and it was great. But then when COVID hit, their business dropped significantly.
I bet.
And so after that, I was kind of still in that finding myself stage. Before I left California, I was actually in the process of becoming an electrician, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I actually had my about to schedule my test date to become an apprentice. But we left right before I could do that. So after I lost my job for the garage door company, I think I applied for a few different things. I ended up applying here at Any Hour originally to be a drain tech. And so when I came in for the interview, Dustin, who one of the recruiters, he was like, dude, I don't need you as a drain tech. I need you in HVAC because you got enough experience to do basically all of that stuff. Sure. And so he asked me, of the hierarchy of the trades, what's your hierarchy? I said, I originally wanted to be an electrician, but I never really thought about the other two. So he's like, well, in HVAC, you can pretty much do all three. And so that's kind of how I got started here. And so starting tune-ups like I am right now. Only been here for it'll be a year and about 6 days, which has been really fun. It's been, other than the military, it's probably my favorite job that I've had, honestly. So
that's awesome.
It's a really nice company, and it's really fun to be here, honestly.
That's cool. So, all right, so you're in Missouri and want to be a cop. You go to college first, get your law degree or criminal justice degree, and then you decide to go into the military to gain experience, to be more cop-like. When you went in, did you go to Texas for basic training, or was that where you were deployed to?
So I went to basic training in Missouri at Fort Leonard Wood.
Okay.
That's where the military police school is for the Army.
Gotcha.
And then I got stationed at Fort Hood in Texas.
Gotcha.
And then that's where I spent all of my active duty time on the United States side there, but I did one deployment overseas while I was active duty. So.
Awesome. So 4-year commitment when you signed up, or is the MP school different?
So for me, it was a 5-year active duty commitment, but it was at a total of 8 years. So it was 5 years active, and then it was 3 years inactive ready reserve. So if something happened, that they would say, okay, come back, you got to do some more stuff for us.
They can call you up.
Yeah. But I got honorably discharged in 2019.
That's
so
awesome.
I got my certificate and everything.
So when you are an MP, what were your duties in the Army?
So mine were a little bit different because I wasn't like a true MP, because I was a dog handler. That was my actual job.
Gotcha.
So I did what's called the garrison side, which is working the actual base with my dog and being an actual MP, but I didn't do the actual law enforcement side as much. I was basically there more as like a deterrent to basically make people, behave.
Like the soldiers?
Yeah. So that's who we looked after. And so my main jobs on the base were to do gate checks. So to have my dog do gate checks, search vehicles and stuff like that. And then if I was to get called out to a call, which was pretty rare, but I would pretty much just be there as more of a deterrent than anything. Never had to use my dog for anything, which was awesome. Which was kind of weird because it was a big fluffy German Shepherd. He was a great looking dog. But as soon as anytime I ever had to pull him out of the car, everybody just kind of like, okay,
straighten up, huh?
Straighten up.
Like, oh, just got real.
Yeah.
So did you train your dog, or did it come to you trained?
So myself and the dog that I had, so we were pretty much.
What was his name?
Rex.
Or her?
Rex. Yeah.
Rex.
We were both newbies when I got him. So he's never had a true handler. I'd never had a true dog. So we were both newbies. It was it's not rare anymore, but it was kind of rare at that time. And so he was initially trained for the basic training base that the dogs get at Lackland Air Force Base in Texas. When he went to Fort Hood, he had never got the full initial handler training. So I assisted with trainers. I assisted him in bringing him up into the actual to get better for our certification processes in the military. And so he and I certified, I think, 3 times within the time frame that we had together. It was almost 4 years that we were together. But initially he had like the basics down, but we had to fine tune his training.
Gotcha.
So
that's cool. So when you say you guys were together for 4 years, did you get another dog after that, or how does their service work? Are they a lifer?
Pretty much. So the way that military dogs work is that there's different instances where some might happen differently, but for the most part, they're in for their life until about, on the German Shepherd side, maybe about 8 to 9 years old. Belgian Malinois might last a little bit longer, like 10 or 11 years. But when they get to the point to where they can't function as well as they can, they get retired out, or they go through different processes to basically end their military career.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So after you ended with Rex, did you get another dog? Sorry, I don't remember what your answer was on
that. No. So with the amount of time that we had, so I only had a little bit of time left in the military. So by the time you get to dog handler, or actually getting a dog, you didn't have. So in my mind, I was thinking like you go in and like you immediately go to dog handler, and I'm thinking 8-year career there. But so after I got out of basic training, it was 3 months in dog school at Lackland Air Force Base. And then when I got to Fort Hood, that's when I got assigned my first dog, which was Rex.
Gotcha.
While I was there, I assisted with training other dogs, like helped out with other handlers.
I see.
And the trainers and stuff like that. But when the time that Rex and our partnership ended, I did not get another dog to train. I helped out with taking care of other dogs and training other dogs with other handlers, but I had such short time left in the military active duty that they really didn't feel like it was worth giving me another dog, which I totally agreed with because I was leaving pretty soon.
So, but when you would do your patrols, would you just take another dog with you and like patrol, or since you didn't have like a specific partner that dog, somebody else would do that?
Yeah, somebody else would do that. So when our last certification ended, I was basically put on like more maintenance tasks, like make sure the kennels were good and clean and stuff like that, and helping out with training during the actual day and stuff like that. So I didn't do any actual patrols after his and I partnership ended.
How often are dogs deployed? Like, are there a lot of dogs like doing stuff overseas?
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of even right now they're over there. Depending on the dog and depending on how they act and how they are, a dog could easily see 3 to 4 deployments in its lifetime in its career. Rex, because of his and I partnership, I think he only was deployed that I know of once with me, and maybe another time with another handler after I left. I don't know for sure with that one, but there's dogs that we had that have had 5 or 6 deployments with different handlers, just because they go through one certification with one handler, and then a new handler comes and stuff like that. So
in your deployment out of the country, were you an MP then?
Yeah. Yes.
Dog handler?
Yeah, so I was considered a military police dog handler, but the actual role was different.
Gotcha.
So my deployment was different than an actual MP role. So I didn't serve necessarily the MP function while I was deployed. I served more of the deterrent aspect and my specific job that I was tasked to do when I went over there. So
sorry, so many questions.
No, that's fine.
I've not discussed the canine aspect of the military with anyone before. That's interesting.
I would say any customer that I go to that asks, and when we start this conversation, this is pretty much the conversation that we have every time.
Now you'll be able to cue this up and be like, well, I really need to get to this particular job, but I can get a lot of answers,
I know,
to your questions by listening to this episode. Okay. So, all right. So at what point did you meet your wife?
So I had just gotten back from my deployment actually in 2014.
Okay. In Texas at the time?
In Texas, yep.
Okay.
She was there in Texas living at the time.
From Texas?
No, she's originally from California, but she was there from a prior marriage actually.
Gotcha.
So we ended up meeting online actually. We just messaged back and forth for a little while. One day she ended up having free time because she was working so much. They said, hey, I have some free time. I had asked her out previously.
Sure.
She's like, I'm available at this time. Would you like to, go do something? We ended up, dating for quite a while. And so we've been together almost 6.5 years now. And we've been married for about 3.5 years now.
Okay.
So,
and when you went to California, you were still in the military or no?
I had just gotten done. So I got done in January 2017. And then we moved to California that March. So
did you move there already having a police job lined up?
Yeah. So that was the reason why our move was to there. So while
I didn't know if she just wanted to get back home to California.
Well, that was part of it.
Okay.
So the main reason we went to California is so prior to me leaving the military, we had a discussion of where did we want to go? Do we want to stay in Texas, go to Missouri, go to California, or somewhere else?
Sure.
We decided to go back to California so that she can spend time with her grandparents who were there at the time. They had since passed, but we were able to spend some good quality time with them. They were great people. Even the short time that I had with them, they were great people. But before we went to California, I had already gone through the interview processes with several different departments, and I got the initial offer and the final offer before moving to California.
That's nice.
So it kind of worked out the best way that it could have. Other than, basically finding out that wasn't the job for me ultimately.
Sure.
But that was the best way that it could have happened, honestly.
Gotcha.
So,
what was it about policing that didn't jive? What, in your mind, you thought it was going to be one thing and it was different? What was it not?
Yeah, that's pretty much what it was. So when I grew up, my whole goal for policing was to go and help people. That's kind of how all young kids want to do. They want to go and help people.
Sure. Protect and serve.
Protect and serve, exactly. Wear the uniform, have the badge, however you want to look at it. It is a lot more than that. It is helping people, but most of the time you're going to see somebody on their worst day of their life. Whether it's something small like a car accident, or maybe something smaller than that, or it could be even something worse like a death in the family. You're there to do your job.
Sure.
And so could I handle it? Yeah, but it ended up being a lot of stress on my life and my marriage with my wife. So I bring it home every single day. And
Sure.
It got to the point to where, to me personally, it wasn't worth it. And feeling that I wasn't really good at it, I ended up deciding that, wasn't right for me. So
when you left the force and you are still in California, did you get something else there in California, or did you decide, okay, fresh start, starting over, and did you do other things in California after you left?
Yeah. After I left, I got a couple of small jobs, very small, like working in a grocery store and stuff like that.
Just something to pay the bills.
Yeah, something to pay bills. I was a meat clerk for a little while, so I knew fish, I apparently learned fish really well, so I knew how to cut it up and cook it and stuff like that too.
There you go.
But that's when I worked for Comcast, was in San Jose, California.
That's right. Okay.
And so I worked there it was almost a year, I think. And it was a great job. It was kind of close to what I do now, because you deal with wiring. Is more low voltage wiring and the cabling. But I got to climb up telephone poles and crawl under houses, so it's kind of similar to what I do now. But with how expensive California is,
Sure.
we were struggling for a little bit. And so we decided, when we went to Las Vegas for my wife's 30th birthday, and we ended up going to St. George for a day, and we both loved it. And so we decided hey, let's look into Utah. Why not? And so there was nothing there for us in St. George employment wise, but we both got jobs around the Salt Lake City area. And so after getting both of our jobs, we ended up moving here within like 2 weeks of getting our jobs.
Nice.
Which cost us quite a bit of money to leave California. But ultimately, we're a lot happier and a lot better off now than there. As beautiful of a state it is, it's expensive. So, and here it's not as much. So it's a better life for us here for sure.
Gotcha. So you get to Utah. Now when you were, you had mentioned looking into getting your electrical. That was in California, right? You were getting ready to test. When you came to Utah, what did you do? And did you intend on continuing that path of becoming an electrician?
I actually did think about it for quite a bit. So like I said earlier, I got into the garage door company that I would work for.
So that was when you first moved out here?
Correct. Yeah. Okay. And so I liked working there. It was a good company. It still is a good company. But I never really saw being a long term. I was trying, but there were some days where it was kind of really frustrating, like most days in work.
Sure.
But I always kind of had that trade mentality in the back of my mind. Like, that's kind of the thing. Like, trades are always going to be here. They're always going to be needed, especially with the new technology and stuff coming up. There's always something to learn. So when I came in on an interview with Dustin for Any Hour, he was like, HVAC is the up and coming trade that there's always something to learn, and he's right. I learn something new every single day. Even on tune-ups, I'll find something that I've never seen before, and I'm like, okay, I need to call somebody now. Even only been here for a year, I've seen quite a bit of stuff. Sure. But in the trades in general, it's just something that's not going to go away, and it's a more long-term solution for sure. So
working at the garage door company, COVID hits. They have to downsize. Yep. You lose your job there. So then you started looking for jobs in trades.
Yep.
Where did you find Any Hour?
So I think when I was looking for employment, I think I initially found them, I want to say on LinkedIn. I think that's how I found them. And so, like I said, I originally applied to be a drain tech just to at least get into something. I think I applied even for some other companies for various positions. I can't remember now. But I didn't have any certifications for anything. And so when I came in to be a drain tech, I was like, a drain tech, that should be pretty easy to get into. Well, when I got here and talked to Dustin, he was like, you know what, you're the good fit for the HVAC side. We'll get you going on this stuff, and you'll get on the right path to this career field. And so, so that's how kind of started here, and I've been loving it ever since. So,
gotcha. That's cool. So, HVAC, what was the learning curve? Like, how did the training process go for you?
So I think I learned pretty quick on how to look at the systems. So I started on the AC side. So that's how I got trained, was on the AC units and kind of figuring out how to look at those, which is actually harder diagnosing the AC units than it is the furnaces. Furnaces are a simple process for the most part, and there's a certain sequence that they do, and you can kind of figure out within that sequence what's going on.
Sure.
AC units are a little bit different with the refrigerant side because there's a lot of numbers you have to look at, and there's a lot of different things that it could be. There's not one answer necessarily. But I started on the AC side, which took a little bit of learning for me, even after I got done with training, that I still had to make some phone calls like, hey, look, this is what I got. I think I know what it is. For the most part, I usually say, okay, I think I know what it is, but I have to confirm it with somebody else just to make sure.
Sure.
So that was a struggle at first. But then when the furnace season came, not looking at the actual furnace sequences was even more of a learning curve, or at least at first. But it's been fun, honestly, even just learning and kind of like looking at systems, even ones that are like so advanced that you really don't have to do anything to them on the tune-up. Just look at them, see how they function. So, but I still learn every single day, even with the brand new units that are coming out. There's always something to learn with them.
What's if somebody was thinking about getting into the trades, do you have any advice for them?
Go for it.
Go for it.
Yep. If I would have known about it long ago, probably still would have joined the military just for that aspect of it. But it's one of those careers that I don't think you can go wrong with it, whichever field you decide to go in. But I think those who are thinking about it, kind of research it, at least kind of figure out kind of what you think you want to do. If you're a person that is handy with tools, I mean, all these careers are good. But definitely do your research, but it's whichever route you go, it's definitely a good choice.
Were you handy at a young age, or like coordinated that way, mechanically minded, like growing up? Is that something that resonated with you?
I wouldn't say that I was like tool wise that I handled a lot. I played sports a lot, so I had hand-eye coordination for sure. I would say more as an adult, that's when the mechanical part came in. After several jobs that I've had, like with Comcast and the garage door business and working with tools all day long, I always found it like working with my hands is enjoyable. I think most guys find it the same way. But when you're there and you're trying to diagnose the problem, that's the best part, is that you're trying to figure something out. And I think that's what intrigues me the most about HVAC, is that when I actually have a problem to solve, trying to dive into it to see what's going on with it. Gotcha.
So you like the mental aspect of it, the games that you play trying to figure that stuff out.
Yep.
How is the service side of the business, where you're like dealing with people? Do you like the figuring out the problems with the equipment more, or do you like the interacting with people more?
I think it's kind of both. So I'm a very people person. I enjoy talking to people. I think that's more from the military side, is that once I was very shy before I went to the military, and the military kind of brought that out of me a little bit. But dealing with the customers is probably the best part of the entire job, because one, it's kind of how we deal things, and how our service system is that we're different from other people. Is that I think that's why people go with Any Hour, is that they enjoy kind of what we bring to the table. We have a certain way that we do things that are different from other companies. And the fact that, we can walk to the door and we're generally there as a friendly person trying to help somebody. I think that's the best aspect of it. I still like to figure out the problem with the equipment if there is a problem. Most of the time there's not. But if there's something that can be done to improve the system or make sure that it doesn't break down for futures, which is what tune-ups is for, talking to the customer is the best part, I think, of the two, for sure, because you can make somebody a customer for life just with simply talking to them about either their equipment or even something that they're interested in. And that's how you connect with the customer.
I was reading some statistics yesterday, actually, and it was saying that like there were like a couple of different statistics, but like a really high percentage of customers, like there was one that was like 76% and there was an 83%, but they all focused around how much people value the experience that they have. So yeah, they want to get their problem fixed too, but the way that they go about it, or the experience that they have in that journey of getting it resolved can really make a difference in how that customer views the company that they choose to come out there and do that. And having done so much stuff in my house, and right now I'm going through a kitchen remodel, or actually several different remodels, and having so many different companies come out to my home, the thing that makes the biggest difference is the service provider that's out there. And so you have, almost 100% control over how that customer feels about Any Hour, because even though they responded to a marketing piece and called in on the phone and got the call booked, and sometimes it's hard for technicians they love to get the positive reviews, and they own like, oh, things are doing so good and I did that, but they don't necessarily always think about the opposite side of that. If a customer has a good experience or a bad experience, it's usually with that person. And so you've got a lot of responsibility, but also a really big opportunity to impact the lives of people in a positive way. Yeah. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
You've been here for almost a year, and having been a technician, I know that technicians have stories that they always are swapping when they get together and stuff. Do you have any cool stories so far? And like, what's the craziest, service call you've been on? Don't name names.
I won't name any names. I really don't have really anything. Tune-ups is like, it's different. We go to systems that are currently working, or at least supposed to be working. And then we just make sure that the system is still properly working, or if there's stuff that needs to be addressed, that we address it preventatively. So I don't really have anything crazy. I've been to some jobs where like the crawl spaces were
Pretty gnarly.
Or climbing onto a roof for an AC unit. That's kind of fun sometimes.
In a residential
there's still houses out there to where I was actually at one, I think a week or two ago, to where he had his furnace was in his attic, and that's pretty common in Utah. Sure. But he's like, oh, well, the AC unit's on the roof. I'm like, really? And so I go out onto the deck, and the deck was high enough to where I didn't need a huge ladder to get up there, but I had to actually go onto probably 2 or 3 different levels of the roof to get up to it. And so that was those are interesting sometimes. But like on like condos, those sometimes will have rooftop units to go up to. And
that makes sense.
That's with the ladders that we have. I had one probably even a week prior to that one where it was a unit on the roof, and my ladder wasn't quite tall enough to get right to it. So I had to figure out a different path to get to it. So I actually had to go around the building to a smaller or a shorter roof, climb onto that one, then climb onto the next roof without a ladder, which is kind of that.
Roof ladder and roof work was my least favorite part. I installed a dish network for a while.
Yeah,
and that was my least favorite part. There was only one time. See, I don't do well with heights, and so anyway. But there was this one time when I had to go up a really steep pitched roof, and I don't know if it's like this for everyone else in the world, but for me, and maybe it's a mental thing, but it's a lot easier to go up than it is to come down.
No, 100% agree.
And so I got up this really high pitched thing, and I realized quickly that like I'm not getting back down to that ladder.
Yeah.
And so I had to call the homeowner to come and move my ladder for me so I could like get down to a spot.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was that was crazy. I was sitting up on the roof after I did my work there. What about have you coming across a system that you're like, because you're going out for maintenance, right? Just to do the check, make sure everything is functioning the way that it should, and get it back to the manufacturer spec. But are there any systems you've been out to where it's like, I can't believe this thing's still like functioning?
Sure. Yeah.
What do those look like?
They're definitely the older units, units that are 18 plus years old. I had one, I think it was last week, that I don't even know how old it was because I haven't actually seen it before. It was a standing pilot light, so I knew what that was. But when I turned it on, so the actual burner assembly was on the bottom portion. Most of them these days are on the top portion of the furnace. Sure. So I turned it on, it ignited, and did everything it was supposed to do. And I told the lady, it's working. But her blower wheel had a whole bunch of dust and stuff in it. The house or the building was built in the 80s, so it was at least around 30 years old. But I'm pretty sure the furnace was older than that.
Wait, 80s? That'd be almost 40 years old.
Yeah. So it was.
Wow.
It was. I told her, like, I'm pretty sure this is the oldest furnace I've seen. The one prior to that was like from the like six. Well, it was around the same, probably the oldest one I've seen, but I have never seen that brand before.
Gotcha.
And so the furnace worked, but she had mentioned the fact that she wanted central air. So like, well, we talked about it. Like, this system it's currently working. You can do whatever it is you want to do, but if something breaks down, there's nothing to replace it. I have nothing for you. So my suggestion to you is either one, you can keep it going, see how you feel. It was kind of hot in her house, so I was kind of concerned a little bit for her, but she was fine. But with the age of the system, I was like, if something breaks down, it's pretty much a replacement regardless. And so we ended up having one of our supervisors go out there, and they got a new system, I think last week. So
that's cool.
And that's part of the tune-ups, is that we go out there on the older systems. Our job is not to make a sale. Our job is to inform the customer of how it looks, especially on something that's safety related, like on a heat exchanger. We have to inform the customer, and they decide what they want to do ultimately, which is the best part about it. They make the ultimate decision. We're just there to kind of help them, I guess, in a way. Just say, hey, look, this is what you got. This is what you can do. These are the options for you.
Gotcha. So, that's cool. What would you say is like the most satisfying part of your job, what you do?
I think just making the customer happy. Like we were talking earlier, Any Hour has a certain way that we do things. So we literally roll out a red carpet when we go up to a job, or at least we should. And I've been trying to get a lot better at that because that it makes the experience like we were talking about earlier. And so you roll out your rug and you say good morning or good afternoon, and you just make the experience good for them. Whether it's just the $29 tune-up, everything works great, it's a brand new system, whatever, or they have some stuff that we need to talk about, and you take care of that portion of it. But ultimately, making the customer smile, making them say, "Hey, look, your system looks good," and they're actually happy with the experience. That's the ultimate goal in every call. Is it 100% of the time? No, but 98% of the time, I would say, yeah, it's a good call. It's a good call regardless, but at least making the customer happy, knowing that they got the experience that they deserve. That's the best part.
So within that service system that you're running, do you have any tips for technicians that are listening? Like, hey, something that you've kind of discovered and put your own little spin on as far as like what you do on every job that you've found, that customers respond well to?
I think just being genuine. I've had days to where maybe I'm focusing not on the right part of the job. But if you just go in and you be genuine, say, good morning, good afternoon, just be friendly, cordial with them, and then just give them that what we call the 5-star experience. If that's what you're given, whether you make, the repair or if they're just doing a brand new system tune-up, that part doesn't matter. Is that you're there just to provide that service, and you're providing that 5-star experience. What we're taught to do and what we're there for that's what you should be there for. Do I have any particular tips? Not particularly. I think every technician has their own way of doing things, and that makes it successful for them. It's just being cordial, especially right when they open the door. You say good morning, so and so, whether it's by their last name. Coming from a military perspective, I usually go with the last name, like Mr. So and so. But sometimes I'll do the first name, but it doesn't always feel right for me personally. So
fair enough. I think I was the same way that way. Any final suggestions for, like you said, if there's anyone that's thinking about getting into the trade, you said go for it. But is there anything that they should be looking for in a company that they are going to partner up with, essentially? Because that's what you're doing when you are building a career,
right?
Is it's not just you building this career, it's you choosing a partner that's going to help you further that career. So when they're looking for a company, any suggestions for them of what they need to be looking for in a company?
Specifically, definitely do your research of the company. Like, look at the company's website, look, see what do they have core values, are they transparent? If you can do a ride along with the company, that's another great aspect. With our company, with all the videos that we have of our company, we're completely transparent.
Gotcha.
So something like that, or even if you just go online and you Google their reviews, it'll tell you how they're doing.
So did you see our ride along series and all of that stuff before you came on board?
I've watched several different, like in the house or ride along series, just to kind of see like how does Any Hour do their stuff, and I was intrigued pretty much by day one, so it was pretty fun to look at.
That's awesome. Okay, so because we have people that are listening across the country, all over the place, and they are all the time. I see comments coming through like, oh, whether it's on the ride along videos or the podcast or whatever. I'm thinking about getting into the trades. Do you have any suggestions for me? And so when you're looking for a company, is there like, do they need to like look for benefits? Do they need to ask some specific questions about how they perform their service? Like give them some suggestions of what they can do to be proactive when they're looking for a company.
I think that's definitely part of it, to look at what does the company provide for you when you're working there, but also how, I guess the best way to look at it is like how would you look working for the company, if that makes sense? Does it feel like a good fit? Are they doing what they're supposed to do? Are they an honest, trustworthy company? Do the customers generally like how they're doing? Companies do different things and they do their own sequence of, their service systems or whatever, but if you have a person that you can go into to actually ask questions, that's definitely a good thing to do too, is ask somebody who actually works for the company. Do they generally like working for the company? They'll tell you honestly, whether it's mostly it'll be behind closed doors. Sure. But they'll give you an honest answer. Cool. And so, yeah, those are the basics that I would say, like definitely research the company. If you have somebody to ask them, see how they like it. And then don't just look at one company. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Look at several. So
were you looking at several when you came to Any Hour?
Yeah, actually, I looked at a couple locally, but ultimately,
what made the difference?
I think just when I walked in the door and how the interview process went. When I talked to Dustin, he and I had a good probably hour-long conversation about not even really an interview. It was just a conversation. And then the next day, he was like, hey, we want you to come back. And I interviewed with Jeremy the next day. And he and I talked for about an hour and a half as well. And that's kind of what sold me, is that even the higher up guys, they're willing to come and talk to you and say, hey, look, we want you here. That's it. Like, if you're ready, let's go. And I was ready to start work that following Monday. So
that's awesome.
That makes the difference, honestly. It's like the management staff generally wants our guys here. That's what makes the difference, I think.
Gotcha. Well, that's awesome. Any final thoughts, words about the HVAC industry before we wrap?
No. Like I said, if it's something that if that's somebody's thinking about going into, I say go for it. There's definitely a lot of learning curve, things to look at, and there's always stuff to learn. But in trades in general, that's definitely the way to go for if you're looking for a new career field.
Gotcha. Well, that's cool. Well, I appreciate you coming in and visiting with us. We are going to move on to the segment of the show where we call "Don't Judge Me," but I'm going to do it a little bit different today, especially since you're familiar with with the show. So instead of giving you an either or, I'm going to ask you your favorite and then just a category, and then we'll go from there. Does that work?
Yeah.
Actually, let me go back real quick. Do you have a dog now?
Yes.
Okay. Did you train it to be like super obedient, like is it a military dog, like where it's like you're walking along, you don't need a leash, it just follows you, and you see those videos online of people walking through the grocery store and the dog's like between their legs and like doing all kinds of stuff like that?
Not even close.
Not even. That's awesome.
No, so my military dog was a German Shepherd. My current dog, who is my wife's dog originally, but now it's our dog and mostly my dog, a little Pomeranian. So kind of the opposite.
But do you have you trained it so that it's like somewhat obedient, or just like, no, it's just a yapper?
She's pretty obedient. Do I have any specific commands or anything for her? No, she kind of knows how to sit, and she knows the bark word or whatever.
Speak?
Yeah, speak. Yeah, that's what we use
bark
too.
Word.
Yeah. But as far as actual like obedience, we haven't done anything. She's 9 years old, so I tend to let her be a dog, and when we go,
they do say you can't teach an old dog new tricks.
I would disagree if you do it right.
Well, there you go. See, then the age, 9 years old. That's you should you should try. Get her ready for the doggy Olympics. All right, here we go. Don't judge me. Let's favorite food.
Ooh, Mexican food.
Mexican food. Yeah. Favorite, are you a soda drinker?
No.
Okay. Favorite beverage.
Probably Gatorade.
Okay.
Or Powerade. Mostly Powerade because it's cheaper, but a hydration drink, I guess.
Gotcha. Favorite music genre.
Ooh, either hair metal or metal, I guess. I know it's weird. I know.
Were you expecting that, Austin? I was not expecting that. Okay. I was gonna, in my mind, I was thinking I would ask the favorite song, but that is one genre that like I couldn't name unless it was like a Metallica, but like I don't know that Metallica, when I hear hair like metal, Like I think that Metallica is probably on the softer side of metal.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe?
I don't know. They're I don't know if they're.
They wouldn't say that,
Yeah,
of
they
course,
wouldn't
and
say
they
that.
would probably beat me up
Yeah,
for implying it. But you don't get to be mainstream. Hair metal is not mainstream.
No, I mean, mostly like Def Leppard is like my main thing with that. So I don't know if that's hair metal, but I think it is. But Def Leppard is like the genre, the 80s genre
Okay.
that I like.
80s
if that
metal.
makes sense, make more sense. So,
Okay,
Yeah.
all right then. So Poison and
Yeah.
like
Yep.
those things. All right, that makes me feel a little bit better.
Okay.
Oh, favorite song then?
It's actually not from them. It's actually if you've
It's
heard
like a
of,
Broadway musical.
no. If you know, it's called Inside Out from Five Finger Death Punch. That's my favorite song. It's just whenever, especially when I go exercise, that's kind of the song that I start with to kind of get
Is
me
it the?
moving.
Like, I can't even like make the noise. I'm afraid to blow the microphone out. But like, I guess I can't. I couldn't see it. I will not be able to look at you without hearing hair metal and like
I know,
you rocking
right?
out at the gym. That's awesome. Okay, summer or winter?
Summer.
What's your favorite sport?
It used to be baseball. Probably now more football, just because it was more contact. But
It's
most
more
of them-
violent.
Yeah,
matches the music.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you a TV guy or a movie guy?
Television.
What's your favorite show?
Ooh. I think the one I watch the most, which probably drives my wife crazy, but Impractical Jokers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's I'll watch reruns all day long, and she cannot stand it.
Do you guys like binge watch? Do you have like a show that you share that you like, unwind and watch?
Not right now. We've had several, like on Netflix. We've had several different shows that we've just binge watched, and there's no more seasons coming yet. But like Stranger Things, we binge watched that. We binge watched Cobra Kai.
Okay.
We've had several different shows that we've binge watched, and we're just waiting for the new season to come, basically.
There you show you're most looking forward to a new season coming out of.
Ooh, I guess between those two, probably Cobra Kai, just because it's different, but it's been entertaining.
My kids got into Cobra Kai, and they were like, "Hey, do you want to watch this with us?" And I was like, "Yeah, but should we probably go back and watch the Karate Kid
Right.
first?" And they weren't interested. I was like, "Man, but there's 3 movies we need to watch."
I know, right?
I ignored the 4th one with the girl, but maybe it's because I was too old.
Right.
But anyway, okay. So we'll just blow through the rest of these. Bath or shower?
Shower.
Pedicure or manicure?
Manicure, because I don't like my feet being touched first.
Okay, that works. Flowers or chocolate?
Chocolate.
Now, did you perceive that question as like what you prefer to
Yeah.
get or what you prefer to give?
What I get.
You like chocolate more than flowers?
Yeah. When I give, whether it's to my wife or my mother or whatever, it's both.
Both.
Yeah.
At the
it's
same
both.
time,
It's
just
both.
cover
Yeah.
cover
Try
all
to-
the
Try to
bases
do
there.
both. Yeah.
Pizza or burgers?
Probably burgers.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you think pineapple belongs on pizza?
No. My wife would disagree.
Okay.
I've tried it, and it's not a bad flavor combo, but I don't think it belongs on there. Yeah.
Why?
It's fruit and pizza just don't seem to mix for me. I'm that attitude towards it. Like, fruit on pizza just doesn't make sense.
There you go. There you have it, folks. The final word from Mr. John Lawrence. Thanks again for coming on the show. It's been a good conversation. If you would like to know more about any hour services or getting into the trades, if you're across the country, actually do this. Leave me down in the comments if you're somewhere not in Utah and you're watching this and you're just like checking out the trades, or you're in the trades. Give some suggestions to people that are thinking about getting into the trades. Like when they're looking for companies, what are some things that they need to look for? Let's bring some value to people down in the comments. Again, thanks for being here. You've been listening to Who's in the House. If you'd like to know more about Any Hour Services, visit anyhourservices.com. I've been your host, Mike Wilson. Thanks for listening. See ya.